Hello and welcome to the most peaceful place where the fruiting plants and animals roam free. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of them as they make this piece of haven very enjoyable for all. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming to Peaceful Village.
Hi, I'm Michael Anfield, the author of several books, including The Interconnectedness of Life, The Lost Love, and the audiobook you're about to listen to, Return to the Gentle Sea, for the love that lives in everyone. Please do not close your browser or hit the back button, as the information presented within are extremely important about human relationship between other animals, humans, and the earth. And it is vital that everyone in the world listen to it. Thank you so much for having open heart and open mind to listening to this audiobook and the ideas presented within. Enjoy.
Return to the Gentle Sea, for the love that lives in everyone, by Michael Anfield, narrated by the author. Forward by Mango Wudzak, with music by Dr. Will Tuttle.
Hi, and welcome to Return to the Gentle Sea, for the love that lives in everyone. This is Michael Anfield, the author, and I'm about to read the unabridged version of this book. When finished listening, kindly share the audiobook and ideas with others, and write an Amazon review. Thank you for your participation in Return to the Gentle Sea, for the love that lives in everyone. Get in a comfortable position, take a deep breath, and relax. We are now going to begin.
Forward by Mangal Wadzak.
Just a few decades ago, no one would have imagined that veganism would take the strides it has done, taking the world by storm and becoming what may well turn out to be the fastest growing social justice movement history is yet to record. We seem to be entering a new era where increasingly more folk are waking up to the inhuman treatment and oftentimes blatant cruelty we as a species regularly inflict on farmed animals. Books such as this serve to help spread awareness of the plight of animals, who, under our tyranny, suffer in ways the majority of us rarely, if ever, take into consideration. Michael wastes no time setting the record straight, showing that the regular habits of tradition, culture, and the masses go against the grain of who we really are as individuals. He makes it clear that when one purchases animal products, what one is really doing is paying for animals to be treated in ways which would surely bring great stress and discomfort to anyone who was obliged to witness their short, commodified lives. Michael and I, along with an ever-increasing number of others, feel it is time that we cease this barbaric practice of breeding sentient beings in order to profit from their bodies and slaughter. It is time for every one of us to wake up and recognize that all animals are individuals, each with their own deep, innate desires and reasons for being of their own, ones which none of us have any right to disregard or overrule. I urge all readers to take heed of the message and truths shared within this book, and to make any changes necessary to bring actions and heart into alignment. Until we do so, our reasons for being and our true potentials remain hidden from us all. So read on, don't delay, be open to the recognition of the truth, and shape your future towards compassion.
Mangal Wadzak, author of several books on Eden Fruitarianism. www.fruitnut.net. Introduction. We must end the violence now. It is the future, and we all return to the gentle sea. The gentle sea is our ability to live life through our inner wisdom and love for all creatures and living units. Humans live peacefully with one another. No one sees anyone else as property or disposable units. Humans, other animals, and nature are sacred to all of us. We don't use or kill anyone or steal from them. We live by sharing and loving one another, living in small-knit communities. When we witness the suffering and death of another, we have empathy and try to help them. For those of you who have read my other books, The Interconnectedness of Life, The Lost Love, and Our Path to Freedom, how we can live a freer and more peaceful life, you know why we can't justify violence of any kind. The only type of violence we probably can is to protect ourselves. However, when we instigate violence on another creature, regardless of species, it is not wise nor intelligent on our part, nor is it compassionate towards the other being. No matter what religions or holy scriptures mention or our culture teaches us, we need to evolve and look within ourselves for the truth and realize that violence is never a good thing.
Everyone knows that we all possess hard values of kindness for others. Killing is never in the best interest of the victim or us. We're not evil by nature, but our culture teaches us to be indifferent to other animals.
In the West, we may love our immediate families and friends, certain animals like cats and dogs, maybe even naturally free-roaming animals, wildlife, but that is where the love ends. Society tells us to love others, but on the other hand, also to compete against one another and to be materialistic consumers. This leads to many people becoming lost in their lives, which in turn may lead to depression or other illnesses, and eventually maybe even leading to suicide. Also, when we continue taking the purposes away from other animals, we start to lose our purpose as well. So we continue to justify the consumption of animal foods and the use of animals for entertainment, clothing, testing, and other purposes, just because almost everyone does so. We follow a program that is injected into us since infancy, and we don't question any of it because we're not taught to. Most of us in the West tend to be picky with whom or what we eat. No, do not give me dog's milk, but cow or goat's milk is fine. No ostrich eggs, but chicken eggs are okay. We even praise ourselves for eating such foods that cause tremendous suffering and destruction on a massive scale. Deceiving labels such as free-range, cage-free, organic, or humane slaughter are lies perpetuated by animal agriculture and well-meaning people. Eating animal foods in moderation is also nonsensical and illogical. Do we support theft, killing, and rape in moderation? Still, even when people watch undercover slaughter footage or read about the negative effects of animal agriculture, most continue to consume animal foods. This is especially true the longer we have been conditioned by society. We say we know, yet we continue to be complicit. Why? Why do humans continue justifying violence? Violence is violence no matter whom it is done to. When are we going to evolve and finally live in harmony with all life? When will people evolve from plants have feelings too, but Jesus ate fish, bacon, and but what about protein? Insanity. These are all just mindless excuses so we can continue consuming animals for food. There is no way to slaughter animals humanely or be genuinely happy and joyful when we steal their milk, eggs, or honey, or get someone to do it for us. Whoever thinks otherwise needs to continue reading. Return to the Gentle Sea is not about beliefs or opinions, but about the truth of our relationship with other animals. It is not a book telling people what to do, but rather to awaken us to our natural wisdom and compassion for all life. At times, it may seem to people as if I'm a bit harsh, but it is only to try to get people to connect to the love for other creatures within themselves. It is about minimizing as much harm as we can and feeling within our hearts what the most ethical solution to a certain situation is. Sometimes, there may not be the perfect answer or solution to every circumstance,
but we must do our best whenever difficult situations arise. But eating cheeseburgers, hot dogs, eggs, honey, and all types of dairy products, and owning other animals is not doing our best or our loving and compassionate things to do. Even if one disagrees with some of the ideas presented, do not discredit this book in its entirety, but rather be neutral and open-minded about them. Despite my intentions of providing a generally positive and loving message, sometimes negative and harsh realities must be addressed so we can evolve to a more humane and loving species. It is also advised that we do not skip sections of this book that may be painful for us to read, or to avoid reading the book from cover to cover because of our current beliefs, but to be open and embrace all the ideas with feelings of empathy and compassion. Return to the Gentle Sea is a follow-up to my other books, to why we must stop justifying the use and violence to non-human animals and how it will truly create heaven on earth. Until this happens, humankind will never reap happiness, nor will we ever live in peace and love with each other. We need to spiritually evolve away from this cruel and harmful life to a life of love. Today is the day we must decide if we truly want to live a non-violent, ethical, and spiritual life, or continue with the status quo, ravaging the earth and killing each other. The choice is ours, and only we can take the first step. Chapter 1: Living with Love. Everyone has his or her own opinions and ideas about different world and moral issues. But one thing is for sure. Deep down, most of us understand the difference between harming and loving others. When we make a human or non-human suffer, we know in our hearts that it is not a good thing to do. Harming another, whatever the reason, can never be right. Stealing from another is also never okay. However, we know when we love an animal, it is a good thing. When we take what is rightfully not ours, this is not right. Most people understand these concepts, but why do we continuously make excuses when it comes to the consumption of animal foods like eggs, dairy, meat, honey, etc.? Why do we make exceptions when it comes to other animals? We rationalize our behaviors only because we are brought up in a culture that views other beings as commodities and food and as lesser than us. Some of us may have compassion for wild animals or our cats and dogs, or for nature and trees. We may even have love for pigs, cows, and turkeys, but we still continue justifying eating farm animals. Why? Isn't this hypocritical? We yearn to love, however, because of our culture and from family and friends, we continue to eat these foods. It is only because of an invisible program forced upon us since infancy that we stay complicit to the system. Individually, we feel afraid of being different when it comes to our food choices. We feel that maybe people will mock and ridicule us for our different food choices. Our whole culture, family and friends, and every moment of our lives are associated with food. The familiar smells, tastes, and associations with animal food are central to our core being. We are born into a space of love, but are taught the opposite when it comes to food and other animals. Food is not just about the meat, dairy, or eggs we devour at each meal. It is about the individual animals that we steal from and eventually kill to consume. Most of us don't steal from or kill the animals ourselves. We pay farmers and slaughterhouse workers to do it for us. We are just like those who hire the hitman who pays someone to kill on our behalf. We don't see this as absurd because it is all done behind closed doors, and everyone is participating in it, and thus it seems normal, natural, and necessary. We are trained to eat these foods since we were small children, and as time goes on, we become more addicted and accustomed to eating animal foods. This is why, in the middle of the night, people go to the drive-thru to buy cheeseburgers or to the corner store for salty bags of chips or milk chocolate bars. Love is the most powerful force on earth. Even though it takes a while for the universe to manifest things, love heals everything. When we unconditionally love all creatures, the love comes back to us many times over. Again, we might not feel the immediate effect of the emotion, but once we incorporate more animals into our sphere of compassion, the the stronger the love will become. I weep when I witness suffering and violence. If it happens to humans or non-humans, it doesn't matter. I've seen animals abused, and they suffer tremendously, transported on trucks on the way to slaughter. Suffering is suffering, death is death, and stealing is stealing. We must stop all this madness. We must have empathy for all life. Even the trees, soil, and insects need our love.
We must walk gently on the earth and cause the least possible harm. When people justify violence towards a certain group of beings, especially when it comes to the animals we consume, it is only because there is an invisible program put upon us from the time we were young children. We are taught to eat animal foods, but in a way that also makes us feel that we are compassionate towards them. Our culture encourages and teaches children and even adults a variety of mixed and confusing messages. This makes us not care, and we do as we please. We kill other beings, destroy the forests and oceans, and buy all sorts of material items that eventually end up in the landfills and oceans, none of which makes us feel awful for doing. We continue being complicit and follow everyone, rather than to seek the truth and love from within our hearts. Why is it so hard for us to make the connection to our food choices and the negative consequences they have on the whole web of life?
Why are we so blind?
Why can't we evolve and awaken to a more compassionate way of living? Why do humans rationalize the death of the animals that we consume?
We must ask ourselves these questions and go deep within to find the answers and reawaken to the love for all life. Breaking away from the visible program and seeking another way of living are the answers. But can we truly live a spiritual and peaceful life in harmony with each other, or will we kill all webs of life to extinction? Chapter 2: God's Creation. According to religious and many spiritual believers, God created the earth and all creatures that inhabited it. Because of it, God is in everything and everyone. We harm a part of God when we, individually or by paying someone else, to kill and steal from another creature or destroy the environment. Because again, God is in everyone. To me, God is the universe, our higher consciousness, and is in everything. Because of this, we are God, or at least contain a part of God. God is not a man or Caucasian, as most people believe. This would be sexist, racist, or speciesist. Sometimes I call God a he, just for simplicity. But by no means is God a man, because that would be sexist. God could be female, or even a non-human animal. However, I do feel God and Jesus are just energy, just like everyone is made out of energy. How the earth all came about, we really do not know. Even the Bible is vague about this. In the beginning of Genesis 1:29-30, God made everyone vegan. God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds of the air, and all the creatures that move on the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. Why would he want to harm and kill the creatures he created? Is he not a merciful, compassionate, and loving God? Even Jesus said, Wherefore, those who want to be my disciples, keep your hands from bloodshed, and let no flesh meat enter your mouths, for the Lord is just and bountiful, who ordains that man shall live by the fruits and the seeds of the earth alone. Gospel of the Nazarenes 38:1-6. Jesus also said, A new command I give you, love one another. As I've loved you, so you must love one another. John 14:34. Even though Jesus may have eaten fish or have offered fish to people, it was probably just due to sustenance and maybe because they couldn't acquire plant foods. However, in today's modern world, especially in the West, and those of you reading this book, we have the ability to shop for plant foods or grow our own with love. Even for those of you who don't believe in God or even some universal energy force and just accept evolution as the way we all came about, we have to live compassionately no matter who or what created the earth or how we evolved over the eons of time. Quote, Never think of anyone as inferior to you. Open the inner eye and you will see the one glory shining in all creatures. Islamic Sufi Saint Misery. Whatever your beliefs or religions are, and even if God allowed us to consume animals, we know it is morally unacceptable in this modern day to consume animal products. No matter what other people do, our culture and traditions teach us, we need to evolve ethically and spiritually to a new way of living in the world with each other. Even if churches, synagogues, temples, pastors, rabbis, or imams say you must eat meat or other animal products, we need to shun away from them. If we claim to be intelligent beings, we should know right from wrong. Quote, "You don't need religion to have morals. If you can't determine right from wrong, then you lack empathy, not religion." Anonymous. In the Bible, the original Hebrew word translated as dominion means stewardship or guardian and never implied domination and extreme violence towards other animals. Quote, "It is because of the Tatha Gata Garbha that the Buddhas refrain from eating meat." Manjari, Tibetan Buddhism. Quote, "All beings fear danger. Life is dear to all. When a person considers this, he does not kill or cause to kill." The Buddha, Dhammapada 129. There are 5 precepts of Buddhism. The first 2 are pertinent to this book. 1. I observe, refraining from killing or harming any living beings. 2. I observe, refraining from taking what the owner not gives. In Rastafari movement, there is Aital. While there are differences to the degree one practices the diet, it is more of a philosophy where one eats what comes out of the ground. Unprocessed, no oil or salt allowed. The word came from vital food. Though some animal products are permissible, many people eating Aital are vegan. Aital means only pure, natural, and clean food. Rastafarians take their practice from the Bible verse 129.
As explained by Dr. Will Tuttle, conventional Western religion, like Western science, evolved within the same milieu of reducing and commodifying large animals and tends to be similarly reductionist in its essential orientation. The infinite divine mystery is typically reduced to a judgmental and often anthropomorphized authority figure. Humans are reduced to self-centered, discrete temporal entities who may be chosen or saved or condemned to eternities of hell or heaven based on one fleeting lifetime. And animals, trees, ecosystems, and all of nature are reduced to being mere disposable props in this drama. Like science, the religious establishment has tended to reinforce the domination of animals, women, and nature, and to further the interest of the ruling elite. Like science, it tends toward being hierarchical, patriarchal, and exclusivist. And like science, it tells us to rely not on our own inner wisdom, but on its outside authority. Like reductionist science, which insists on the objectivist split between self and world, conventional Western religion insists on the primary dualism of creator and creation, God and the world. This belief in a basic disconnection between the divine and all of us reinforces the illusion of separateness that is also propagated by reductionist science.
Chapter 3. Coexisting in Nature. We can coexist in nature with all species. We don't have to be speciesist, just like we don't have to be racist, sexist, or homophobic. Just as many other animals work in harmony with other life forms, we should as well. Even though some animals eat other animals, they do it for sustenance or instinct only. They don't eat for pleasure or binge eat like we do. They eat the raw flesh, bones, and blood off the ground, right out of the animal. They don't remove their eyes, tail, skin, or fur like we do. They also have claws and fangs. and salivate when they see their prey. When lions greet each other, they sniff their butts. Do we sniff other humans' butts when we greet them? No. We also believe there is a hierarchy pyramid where humans are superior to all other animals and to nature. Even within the imaginary hierarchy, there are humans that are superior to other humans. For example, Caucasians are taught that they are superior to all other races, and men are better and dominant of women. This can be compared to imaginary country borders. Animals in nature do not create imaginary borders with silly police guards and clowns' costumes telling them what to do or where to go. They come and go where they please. Can we expect to coexist within nature so that we don't destroy forests and pollute the environment? I guess not, because we ruin the environment every single day. We cut trees down at an alarming rate, about an acre or two every second. We buy so much plastic material goods that are thrown into the landfills or end up in the oceans. Humans kill each other in war because of territory, religion, poverty, etc. Big multinational corporations and governments always win. When will we learn that we need to work in harmony with all life forms and take care of the earth? Why are we destroying our only home we have? Why do we need more material wealth and land, only to buy more physical junk that in the long term does not create true happiness? For mere few moments of fleeting pleasure, we exterminate the whole web of life. Not only that, we destroy our own inner feminine wisdom, Sophia, Greek meaning clever, skillful, intelligent, and wise, that nurtures and loves all life. How can we stop all wars and violence against ourselves when we are violent towards other beings? Quote, "As we sow, so shall we reap." Reading the quote above, we start to realize whatever positive or negative actions we cause, we receive the same in return. I didn't understand what it meant, but as time went on, I felt deeply connected to the ancient spiritual importance of this. It became clear to me and very dear to my heart. I don't want to harm any life form as much as is feasibly possible. My consciousness and intuition is so entrenched in my inner being that, in time, no longer do I have the desire to cause harm to any part of the web of life and universe. I share this incredible and abundant world with everyone. If I harm, I am also hurting myself. That is why many of us still have old wounds that we need to heal and childhood habit patterns we need to break. Quote, "Choosing to be blind to what we are actually doing when we shop for, prepare, and eat food. We blind ourselves not only to the horror and suffering we are instigating and eating, but also to the beauty of the world around us. This acquired inability to actually see and appreciate the overwhelming loveliness of this earth allows us to ravage forests and oceans and systematically destroy the natural world. Becoming insensitive to the pain we cause daily to defenseless animals, we also become insensitive to the beauty and luminosity of the creation that we oppress and from which we disconnect at every meal." Dr. Will Tuttle, author of The World Peace Diet. What does coexisting in nature mean to us? To me, it is being able to feel and live interconnected to the whole web of existence. The choice to move about anywhere we wish freely, without human interference, and to work in harmony with other creatures and the earth. All this is accomplished in a way that causes little to no harm, where the earth and all of us benefits from. But we don't really know what it means to live in harmony with all life, because we surely don't do that. Changing our behavior to align with love is difficult, especially since we're living in a society that programs fear, violence, and a variety of mixed and confusing messages into us. Humans just go along because the majority of us do. We don't question any of the teachings or program because we're not taught in our world to cultivate our intuition. Nurturing our intuition means that we will be vibrating at higher energy levels, and when this happens, awakening and awareness could possibly occur. This may lead to one becoming vegan or eventually fruitarian. Many institutions don't like this, and the meat, dairy, and egg industries fight hard to promote their message, one of lies and propaganda. Yes, we can all coexist within nature and live and work in harmony with each other. There is nothing stopping us except for our ego, traditions, and cultural program. Humans can evolve and thrive as intelligent and compassionate human beings with love for everyone. This is what I call the gentle garden. More on this in Chapter 10. Chapter 4. What about human rights issues? When people scream at vegans, "But what about human rights issues? You only care about animals." When you think about it, these people do nothing to help humans. In fact, supporting animal agriculture is not only violent towards other animals, but to humans as well. What kinds of people work in animal farms and slaughterhouses? Their feelings are suppressed. They work in awful conditions, and many often succumb to various mental illnesses. Why do people think vegans only care about non-human animals? On the outside, when we call ourselves animal rights activists, it may seem that we don't care about humans at all. However, this is not true. Maybe some vegans don't care, but the majority of vegans that I speak to do care about human rights issues. If we analyze and make the connection to the animals that we eat, we can plainly see it is also a human rights issue. What type of people would really like to work in awful slaughterhouses and animal farms? These are innocent people, but some take these jobs out of desperation to feed their families. When they take on these types of jobs, they have to suppress their feelings. I know a few people who once worked in slaughterhouses, some even on the killing floor. At first, it may be hard to witness and slaughter animals, but they have to suppress their feelings and emotions. After a while, they feel that it is just a part of life, which some people have to do. It doesn't have to be this way. Not only do these types of work suppress our true feelings of love and compassion for all life, and especially the animals we are killing or witnessing being killed, but it also violates our own rights. Slaughter lines move so fast that people seriously injure themselves. Some even die in major accidents. Slaughterhouse work, by far, especially in the US, is the most dangerous job of any industry. Turnover rates are 100% just after 1 year. Animal agriculture is a huge problem for human rights. Another thing we must consider: most people who abuse and kill animals on farms and slaughterhouse facilities have the tendency to go out and do the same things to their families and in their neighborhoods. Many people have PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder, and they have recurring nightmares, are alcoholics, or are violent to their spouse or children. As we now understand, not only is animal agriculture violent to farm and slaughterhouse workers, it is also the main cause of world hunger. Much of the grain and legumes around the world are fed to livestock, while people go hungry. Shouldn't we be feeding all the starving humans instead? Animal agriculture is very resource intense. It requires more water, land, oil, and chemicals to produce than plant foods. Also, most of what comes from animals, like their bones, face, tail, and other parts, are not usually used for human consumption. It is, therefore, a very wasteful industry. Some of the inedible parts are thrown away, or some ingredients like animal fat are ground up and added as a waste product in car tires, roads, in candies, and pet food, for example. We can also grow more food per acre from plants, especially when it comes to fruits, than if we ate animal products. So not only does it violate human rights, but also the environment. Everything and everyone is interconnected to all other life forms. Therefore, when we harm a non-human animal, there are far-reaching negative consequences to our actions. This is true even if we are not the ones slaughtering the animals. The following quote sums this up beautifully. "Isn't man an amazing animal? He kills wildlife, birds, kangaroos, deer, all kinds of cats, coyotes, beavers, groundhogs, mice, foxes, and dingoes by the million in order to protect his domestic animals and their feed. Then he kills domestic animals by the billion and eats them. This in turn kills man by the millions, because eating all those animals leads to degenerative and fatal health conditions like heart disease, kidney disease, and cancer. So then man tortures and kills millions more animals to look for cures for these diseases. Elsewhere, millions of other human beings are being killed by hunger and malnutrition because food they could eat is being used to fatten domestic animals. Meanwhile, some people are dying of sad laughter at the absurdity of man, who kills so easily and so violently and once a year sends out cards praying for peace on earth. See David Coates, Old MacDonald's Factory Farm. We must realize that whatever we do to others, directly or indirectly, has either a positive or negative consequence. Therefore, if we want to live in harmony with love, we give the same to others. Others also include the non-human animals we share this earth with. Some people say humans don't matter at all, and the animals would be better off without us. In some way, this is true. They would be better without us. Yet, we are here with each other, and we have to make the best of it and try to live as lightly on the earth as possible. There are no positive benefits to hating or being in disharmony with other humans. We also have to remember that the only reason anyone is eating animal foods is that we are taught by our culture and well-meaning people to do so since infancy. It is nothing we ever chose to do on our own. Therefore, we cannot be mad at the program. It is just a program. When we have empathy for humans and realize that they are just operating from a condition, we start to see us in them, and therefore we have compassion for them as well. The majority of vegans do care about humans, but I understand why some of them are so frustrated with those who have not awakened and embraced veganism yet. The vegans have awoken to the plight of suffering and destruction that humans cause, and they have a clear understanding of the negative and harmful implications of animal agriculture. It is because of this that we can't really understand why other people can't make the connections and embrace veganism. When people justify, make excuses, and continue eating animal products, it makes many vegans angry, frustrated, or sad. Sometimes, I also go through bouts of depression and sadness for the animals. I realize, though, that people are just operating from a program, and collectively, many of us are awakening and realizing the harmful effects of animal agriculture. Another thing as individuals we must realize is that the majority of us are suffering. A lot of us are often sick, have a stressful job, family and marital issues, and money and financial difficulties. On top of that, we are consuming the dead bodies and secretions of extremely abused animals. We take in their fear, suffering, loneliness, depression, cancers, and sickness, and we wonder why there is so much of the same in humans. That is why we must have empathy for other people, because they are hurting. We don't know what they are thinking about or how they are feeling, and thus, we need to treat them with tenderness and compassion. Often, it is mentioned that animal rights is human rights and is earth rights. It is all related and very similar to one another. In fact, humans are animals, as we have a sensory and central nervous system like other animals do. We take in food and digest it eternally and are able to move about. Also, when we support animal agriculture, a system of extreme violence, it creates in our minds and culture an invisible hierarchy system where humans are superior to other beings and to nature. Large multinational corporations take over smaller businesses and conquer and divide and kill and cause immense suffering to everyone. They cause environmental devastations and wreak havoc on the ecosystem, which all life is dependent on for survival. Small farmers go out of business because they can't pay their debts. Some owners are stressed and develop illnesses because of this. So larger corporations take over, monopolizing everything and everyone. The system is so corrupt. Governments, pharmaceutical, chemical companies, and animal agriculture lie in bed with each other. It is a system of domination of the weaker, where the peasant always loses and the big boys win. If we care at all about humans, we will for sure be vegan. But if we continue supporting this barbaric practice of using and killing animals for food and other products, we will annihilate ourselves to extinction and wonder why it ever happened. The strange thing is, while we are killing animals, destroying forests and each other at such an alarming rate, we wonder why we have the problems that we do. We complain that the governments and multinational corporations are to blame. But no, individually, we are the problem. We support the theft and killing of our meals, which causes environmental damage. We enslave all the billions of animals, and in return, we get all the diseases and sickness from eating them. This in turn causes massive starvation around the world because of the grains and legumes that we feed to farm animals, which instead could be fed to starving humans. Are we kidding ourselves if we think animal rights is not related to human or environmental rights? For gosh sakes, wake up, people. Your heads are in the sand, or your fingers are in your ears. You listen to propaganda, mass media news on television, and government lies. Wake up. You are being brainwashed. But I understand you, because I too was the same, eating like everyone. But now I am ethically and spiritually awakened and aware of what goes on. Since 2009, I am a vegan. No longer do I wish to support the use and killing of other sentient beings. I don't want any part of it. I want all animals to live free lives. I don't want to rape and pilfer the earth. For the first 26 years of my life, I was eating the dead bodies and secretions of animals. No, not frogs or dogs, but yum, chickens and cows. Yum, yum, yum. No, not cat milk, but cow's milk, for sure. We are hypocrites and thieves and killers. Yes, we truly are. This is not my opinion. We condemned Hitler for hiring soldiers to kill innocent people, and yet we do the same when we pay farmers and slaughterhouse workers to torture and kill for our meals. That is why they torture and kill animals the way they do, because there is such huge demand for it. Don't get angry at the workers in these awful places. People who purchase animal products are the ones who are employing them. We have to analyze our actions and awaken to a compassionate vegan life. This is the only way to freedom for us. Thus, this is also a violation of our own intelligence and inner wisdom. It numbs and destroys our inner spiritual sanctuary. Stop making excuses with all this nonsense. I am being upfront and totally honest and truthful here. I don't want to see billions of animals die horrible deaths. I don't want to see millions upon millions of people hospitalized due to cancer, heart disease, or strokes. I don't want to see our earth get destroyed just for hamburgers, fish sticks, cheese, and eggs. I love everyone and want us to live in peace and harmony. Chapter 5, Ahimsa Dairy. You might be thinking, what is Ahimsa Dairy? Ahimsa is an old ancient Sanskrit word that means non-injury or non-violence. The opposite of that is himsa, which means violence or injury. There is no such thing as non-injury Ahimsa dairy products. Whenever we use cows, we violate their rights. As I've previously mentioned, stealing from someone is not a good thing to do. We would not want someone to steal from us, and therefore, it is not good to steal from anyone else. When we take milk or make anything like cheese, butter, or yogurt, we violate the animal's rights through immense suffering and agony just to acquire these products. There is no way around it. Anytime we take milk from an animal, the baby is usually taken away from their mother within a few days or sometimes even a few hours after birth. We don't want the baby sucking up all the milk that humans want to drink, so we kill the baby calf right away, or if the baby is male, they are taken away from their mother, chained up in a little stall, and eventually slaughtered for veal. If the baby is female, she'll be put into the dairy industry just like her mother. Typically after 3 to 5 years, the mother is also killed. Cows are known to live at least 20 years. How would we like it if our baby was stolen from us and eventually killed for food? We wouldn't. But this happens to animals everywhere on a massive scale, just because we like the taste of milk, cheese, butter, yogurt, ice cream, ghee, or other dairy products. Just like us, cows produce milk for one purpose only, to feed it to their babies until they are old enough to eat solid food. Their milk is not intended for us any more than dog's milk is. This is true for every species on Earth. We are species specific. We all require specific milk from our mothers only until weaning. A good friend and teacher of mine, Dr. Will Tuttle, author of the World Peace Diet, has a friend who went to India on a mission. He went to many small family farmers who had a few cows and asked them just 2 questions each. What do you do with the cow's baby? And what do you do with the mother when she stops producing milk? Ashamed, the farmers finally answered, "We take them both to slaughter. For the mother cows, sometimes we just release them and they roam the streets. They don't have much to eat except for garbage, so they end up with many pounds of garbage and plastics in their stomachs." In India, cows are supposed to be sacred to the Indian people, but as you just read, small family farmers also take many of the cows to slaughter as well. It is no different than what we do to cows and other animals here in the West. Because of this, many people are now succumbing to various diseases in India and other parts of the world. India is also the largest producer of chicken in the world. A lot of it is exported to other countries. In some Indian states, it is common to consume the flesh of animals as well. As indicated earlier, there is no way to procure animal products without some harm to the animals. All farm animals go to slaughter prematurely, or they are caged first and then slaughtered. Even in India, it is unavoidable. It happens to all animals. They suffer short lives and horrible deaths. If we claim to be morally decent human beings, there cannot be any justifications of consuming dairy or any animal products at all. We need to be compassionate. Even if we don't love or even like non-human animals, we must stop eating them for the sake of humanity and the earth. As explained, everything is interconnected, and whatever we do to other animals, we eventually do to ourselves. It is inevitable, because if we do not cease dominating other living beings, we will see that as humanity, we don't stand a chance of survival. If this happens, we as a species will not have much time left on Earth. Chapter 6. What about chicken eggs? People always justify the use of non-human animals for food and other purposes. It is not because the majority of us don't love animals. Again, it is because we are all indoctrinated to do so from a young age. Let's examine a hypothetical situation, one that rarely, if ever, occurs. We know it can never be right to steal from or kill another being. But what if a chicken just laid her egg and walked away from it? Would it then be okay to eat that egg? We first need to understand that the egg came from the animal. It is her egg, not ours.
Why, sure, if the animal just walked away from it, it would probably be the most ethical egg to eat. But is it all right to eat the egg? There are many factors we have to consider in this scenario. When we look at the egg, do we see it as food? As something that is delicious and edible? As young children, were we taught to eat eggs in our society? If it was broken, splattered all over the ground, would we eat it right there in its raw state? If it was a whole egg just lying there, and our culture did not teach us to eat such a thing, most likely we wouldn't think of it as food. They are brown or white in color, and they do not smell sweet or look edible to most humans, unless we were programmed to eat such a thing. Unlike our natural instinct, which goes for the ripe, colorful, sweet-tasting fruit with its glorious fragrance, the egg may either be fertilized or not. We don't know just by looking at it. There is a life force in the egg. There is energy in it, just like everything out there. But unlike animals who are clearly sentient beings, plants lack a central nervous system and brain. Therefore, I do not personally believe that they are sentient. Though there is life energy in both plants and animals, they are very different from one another. Yet again, we need to minimize as much harm as we can, and therefore, fruits are the perfect foods to eat. Gently plucking them off the tree, one can see there is little to no harm involved in doing so. Even if the fruit is grown conventionally with chemicals, it is still generally a karmicless food. Though of course, I don't advocate growing food in this manner, as chemicals destroy the environment and poison many animals and harm the workers.
Eggs are added in baking, and we eat them scrambled, sunny side, over easy, poached, soft or hard-boiled, or in other ways.
We have to add at least salt and maybe black pepper to make them palatable. Eggs come out of the same hole that the hen poops and urinates from. It is not clean or pleasant. It is gross if you actually think about it.
As we come back to the idyllic situation, the hen laid her egg and walked away.
It is her egg, not ours. She may even come back soon after to take care of it or to eat it to recover the nutrients she lost while laying it. If she does not return to it, the egg is then composted and recycled back into the earth. Because of the potentiality of the egg containing some life force within it, it is not ethical to eat the egg. The egg could possibly develop into a baby chick. When we see an egg as edible food, then we may also see chicken and other animals and their secretions as food. Non-human animals are not here for us. Their bodies and secretions are not ours to use or consume. Maybe it would be justifiable if we were starving in the wilderness. However, most of us reading this book are not in such a position. We have the resources to buy plant foods from supermarkets or grow our own produce. Quote, "The life is in the egg, so we should run after the chicken and give it back to her," said Tom, a young and wise child friend of mine.
Instead of stealing from others, maybe we should give back. What can we do for others? What can we do for Mother Nature? It is always about what I can gain, and all about me, me, me. We never think about helping one another or taking care of nature and planting fruit trees. Maybe we should have more empathy for other beings and discontinue the stealing and killing. Other animals are not here for us. They are here with us. We should form a symbiotic relationship with them as mysterious co-inhabitants and not as resources and food. Though we have to do our best in every situation, we should not see anyone as just things we can use and as food. Whatever animals produce comes out of them. It is theirs, not ours. Until we realize the greater spiritual connection between us, the other animals, and nature we share this world with, we will still be savages killing and living in discord with each other. We are barbarians because our culture has taught us to see other beings as others, and we continue to do so without questioning it. We are unable to make the connections to be able to see ourselves in other beings. Because we are all one, interconnected, we are in all other living creatures. They are in us, and we are in them. This link and interconnectedness reminds us that if we cause harm to other beings, we will also be hurting a part of ourselves as well. That is why the intelligence of deep vegans is to stop animal use and the property status of them completely. Chapter 7. Fish are not animals, damn it. As a vegan since 2009, many people I've spoken to continue to justify why they can't be vegan. Some vegetarians don't consider fish to be animals. So are fish minerals or vegetables? Are these people really that stupid, or do they just blurt out the first thing that comes out of their mouth? Also, they are not vegan yet, and as I previously described, vegetarianism still harms and kills many animals. What they are doing is not any better than people who eat other animals. Don't kid yourself if you think you are doing great service to the animals and the earth. You're not. When we take a life of a sea animal, we destroy their chance to live free, roaming in the seas with their families and other animals. This is very different from eating a plant, especially when it comes to fruit. Fruit is perfectly harmless as you gently pluck the fruit off the tree and later excrete or throw the seeds out to nature. That is probably not how it is done if we live in the modern world with supermarkets and flush toilets. Employees pick the fruit very quickly, destroying some of the bush, tree, or vine in the process. Also, when we kill an animal, we affect the lives of their family members who may have been a part of their life. We take a life and we harm and destroy. How is this compassionate and loving? Before anyone says fish don't feel pain, just think about a fish or other aquatic creatures who are pulled out of the water. They wiggle or flap about, try to stay alive, and maybe escape back to the water or squirm to avoid being eaten. Just watch videos of people eating live octopuses, clams, or other animals. The animal attempts to run away or cling onto the bowls or plates to avoid being eaten. People laugh at these sentient beings, seeing them nothing but food and property. If humans claim to be so intelligent, why can't most of us understand the immense agony we are causing them? Even though both aquatic animals and plants don't make noises detectable to human hearing, when harvested or killed, animals twitch and move about, while plants don't. These unique and beautiful creatures are not machines in a cog as people once believed. They feel pain just as we do. Just as we understand when we step on a dog or cat's tail, they scream out in distress. Apparently, as intelligent as we think human beings are, we continue justifying the consumption of animals. Why can't we make the connection? It is alarming that we kill and consume a huge, unimaginable number of sea animals. All the animals that are removed from the oceans are measured by weight, not by the number of animals killed. It is estimated that at least 950 billion die every year worldwide. Some estimates are as high as 3 or 4 trillion. I kid you not. If we also add all the land animals and the insects that are killed, the number of animals killed rises drastically. We don't know the devastating aftermath of killing so many animals. We know each creature's life is as important to them as ours is to us. This applies to fish as well. It is predicted that at the rate humans are killing off other life forms, it will inevitably cause havoc and destroy us as a result. If we care at all about human beings, we must stop harming and eating all creatures we share this earth with, especially at the rate we kill animals today. In my other books, I talk about how animal agriculture, including fishing, destroys the environment and pollutes the earth. There are many other negative effects of fishing. However, we cannot make the connection to our food choices and the process of how it gets to the supermarkets, and thus, we cannot see the bigger picture of the devastating after effects of it all, only the narrow view.
We condemn slaughterhouse employees that abuse animals, companies for pouring harmful chemicals into the oceans, or complain how barbaric the annual seal slaughter is. We can't see the larger picture of the puzzle because we can't connect the dots of the animal products we consume and how it destroys the whole web of life. It is just like blinkers, sometimes known as blinders, pieces of cups that are placed to the side of the horse's eyes, where they can only see ahead of themselves. Farmed raised tuna fish are usually fed 5 pounds of other fish for every 1 pound caught. This is a huge waste of life and tons of fish killed to feed humans. For many wild-caught fish, non-targeted animals, called bycatch, are caught and die as a result, including many dolphins, turtles, small whales, and seabirds. In many countries, labeling laws are very lenient. Sustainable fishing and various labels are also lies perpetuated by the fishing industry. Many of these sustainable methods and certifiers are not even sustainable or use sustainable procedures. Even if these companies and organizations were honestly using sustainable methods, nonetheless, non-human animals are slaughtered. Even catch and release fishing is considered fun times out with the family. But what fun is it for the fish we hook? Fish suffer painful deaths or are severely injured when we hook them in the mouth. We must be kidding ourselves if we think otherwise. Animals deserve to live free lives, not in aquariums or in fish farms later to be eaten, but alive in nature without tons of chemicals dumped into their habitat. I remember years ago my mom telling me if I caught a fish, we'd quickly knock him out with a big rock to put him out of his misery. Why should we destroy the poor fish's life? Why not let them live out their natural lifespan in peace and harmony? Why dominate and destroy other animals? Maybe it is acceptable for locals or aborigines to eat animal foods if they are starving, but for the majority of people reading this book living in modern times, there is no excuse to do so. We only justify our lives based on native people because we want to continue eating these addictive foods. Eating fish, octopuses, shrimp, mollusks, or any other sea creature is no less barbaric than consuming any other animal or animal product. It is about time that we see fishes and other aquatic animals with love and respect. Their life is their life. Their home is their home. We have no right to take their life or poison their home. If we think otherwise, we need to reevaluate our lives and morals and our relationship to other animals, including fish. Chapter 8: Pets and Sanctuaries. Many people understand the negative impacts of buying animals from pet stores or breeders, but they still don't recognize many of the ethical implications to keeping domesticated animals in their homes, even if they are rescued or adopted. While on one hand, it saves each animal from a life of cruelty or death. For most pets and other rescued animals, they are far from living truly free lives. The negative implications of sanctuaries and pets are widely debated topics. By no means do I have all the answers or solutions to every situation. We are not God here to fix all the mess we've created, but rather to show people that there is another way to live without the use and property status of non-human animals. One thing that I would like to mention beforehand, I'm not totally against animal sanctuaries. Though there are a couple of positive aspects from rescuing and adoption, there are far greater negative implications in doing so, which I will be discussing shortly. It is great that one life is spared from misery and death, but if the owner or owners of the sanctuary is or are not vegan and promoting veganism as a primary form of advocacy, then they are causing much suffering in both the sanctuary and their personal lives. In addition, if the animals are not eventually rehabilitated into nature, then they are imprisoned in cages or small fenced-in areas for their entire lives. More people than ever are now living in urban areas, and so these are the situations I will be mainly focusing on when talking about pets. Though yes, it may be possible to find animals living in symbiotic relationships with humans. These are far from the reality of most everyday situations in modern times.
Dogs and cats may be able to go out and roam anywhere they wish and come back to be fed by their human caretakers, but it is also a violation to the animals' rights to spay and neuter them without their consent. This is just like the human baby who is circumcised by doctors. It is administered to them without their permission or euthanasia, violating their rights. The animal or human baby has no say. We just do what we feel is right for them. But how do we really know what is in the best interest of the animal or human baby? All animals want to live free lives and go as they please. But do many pets or sanctuary animals truly have this freedom? Many animals, especially dogs, are at home alone for many hours without the chance to use the bathroom or toilet, or may not eat until a certain time. Many of them are also walked on leashes, which restricts their freedom, and they are told to sit and do stupid tricks, something they would never do if they were truly free. We feed them unnatural store-bought pet food full of animal corpses, like cows or cats and dogs, that they would never eat in nature. Therefore, that makes them cannibals as well. And because they are our pets, they are considered property in our society, and only that. Yes, we may consider our human children to be our children as well, but this is a different situation altogether, as we gave birth to them. Fundamentally, therefore, our children are a part of us. On top of all this, when we walk our dogs, other people see this and thus consider it normal and natural and maybe even necessary to have pets and to use them any way they please. Again, dogs are on leashes, which violates their rights and freedom. They can't go where they please. In addition, unless other people ask, they don't know just by looking at the dog if the owner rescued him or her or not. Even if we feed vegan food to our pets with all the best intentions in the world, these are not their natural intended foods for them. Even if we find animal roadkill and provide that to them, having the negative energy of the putrefying dead body in our home creates negative energy in our haven. This would be appalling if we substituted a human body in exchange for the animal corpse. This is only because we value human lives more than other animals. Simply, we see other animals as property and food, and this must be stopped. Because if it does not, in the end, our ego will destroy everything on earth. There is also the problem of noise pollution from dogs barking. Many of these dogs are chained up on short leashes in the front or backyard for most of or all day. They don't have the freedom to go where they please. They usually go insane and have psychological and mental issues, and are even known to bite and injure people from being so confined and stressed. What's even worse, they are sometimes even abused by their owners. Even if they are not chained up and have the freedom to move around, it is either on a tiny cement floor area by the house or a small backyard. Thus, if possible, some of them will try to run away by digging holes under fences and escaping. Still, those who return do so because they are dependent on their slave owners for food. Anytime anyone is caged or fenced in, they don't have freedom. They are slaves. I know many pet owners that keep fish in small tanks and rodents like mice, hamsters, and gerbils, birds, and even rabbits in tiny cages or areas. This is not where animals belong. They need many kilometers of forest to move about, and if animals find a way, they will escape to freedom. In the US, half of the animals, mostly dogs and cats, that are taken into a home are eventually brought back to pounds. Some of these animals are euthanized because of the overflowing animals in these shelters. Yet again, this is simply because people see other animals as disposable units. On top of this, some people leave their dogs in their car on a hot day when going shopping. When people hear about these situations, they get furious with the owners, some even signing and creating petitions to demand justice for these animals. The dogs that are left out in locked cars, sometimes for many hours, become severely dehydrated or eventually die. Like pets, farm animals are also severely mistreated. Pigs, cows, turkeys, chickens, and other animals are transported to slaughter for many hours or days, often without food or water, and experience extreme weather conditions. In freezing temperatures, Many are frozen solid to the sides of the truck, and the workers try to pull them off to get them to the slaughterhouse. In the summer heat and humidity, they are so exhausted and dehydrated, some of them are severely sick and injured, called downers, while others die on the way to slaughter. I have also seen children treating dogs and cats like toys, riding or sitting on them or trying to pick them up. I've even seen some children throwing stones at animals and laughing, thinking the animals are enjoying it. Animals do not enjoy being mistreated. No animal likes to be ridden, lifted, or have objects thrown at them. There is only an exception if someone is rescuing an animal and they need to be lifted or pulled out to safety. As well, against their will, many dogs, cats, and other animals are forced into cars, even though many of them are terrified of getting into them. Many of them refuse to go in, but the owner forces the animals, literally lifting, pushing, and shoving them in. I was told of a situation where dogs were locked in the house, crying, wanting to get out, where one somehow escaped. One of the residences was caught slamming the dog into the stairs and kicking him or her just to get the dog to go back into the house. How is this all morally ethical? Is this not abuse and slavery? And we think we give animals a good home and great lives. We must be kidding ourselves. Even if there may be the ideal symbiotic human-pet-animal relationship, we have to end the domestication of all non-human animals altogether and learn how to live harmoniously with naturally free-roaming animals, wildlife. If they wish to come to us for companionship and to cuddle, then that is something they should do on their own. Many people feel compassion for animals and they think they are doing the best for them by rescuing or adopting. Many of them who home an animal are not even vegan themselves. They praise their lifestyle for saving 1 or 2 animals, while they devour thousands of animal cadavers and secretions. On top of all of this, they even feed their pets thousands of other tortured and slaughtered innocent creatures. Is rescuing or adopting animals really a permanent, long-term solution? As I've mentioned, it may be beneficial to the one individual life that is saved, but to also realize that most animals are still not truly free. Once we rescue or adopt, if possible, we should see to it that we eventually rehabilitate the animal or animals to nature. Even though we have domesticated and bred farmed animals and pets, dogs and cats, over the millenniums of time, they have a biological and natural instinct to live a free life in their natural habitat in nature. All beings, including humans, have lived in nature for eons of time. It is only in the last few thousand years, with the advent of agriculture, that this has changed. Domesticated animals are not naturally free, and even though releasing them to nature may pose some ethical issues, their biological ancestors, or genes, are or were naturally free roaming on the earth at one point. This is similar to primates living in zoos. Their natural diet is still primarily plants. The problem is, we have created unnatural situations and homes for non-human animals in our humanized, self-centered, modern world. We cannot just throw animals out on the city streets because we know it is not the moral thing to do. Yet many of us think we are giving animals a loving home and family with the luxury of food and companionship. Many people ask me, well, what are we going to do with all the animals that end up in pounds and laboratories? Do we just let them all die? I feel if we stop supporting all domestication and rescue and adoption and the use of animals in totality and just let the animals be, eventually the world will be a more just and peaceful place for everyone. In the meantime, unfortunately, animals in pounds and laboratories will inevitably die, but we can save even more animals by educating people on non-violent vegan education and on the ideas learned throughout this book. Let's not try to play God and fix all the situations, but instead build a world we would all like to live in, where we work in harmony with each other and don't see anyone as property. If we want to live in a similar world to that of the Garden of Eden, we have to emulate just that. Similarly, if we want to live in a compassionate, loving, vegan world, we promote veganism. We don't have much time. Humans are causing immense suffering and damage to the whole web of life. More in the last 100 to 200 years alone then in a combined 65 million years, Homo sapiens have supposedly been here on Earth. We don't have time for baby steps, welfare reforms, or compromises. Big changes need to happen now. Killing or wishing humans were all dead is not compassionate or kind. Let's focus our vision on love and our actions on the bigger picture, promoting veganism. However, many people that I know who do advocate for adoption and rescue don't have much faith in humanity and don't see a bright, positive future, and that is why they do not promote veganism. So they think every small change is one in the right direction. For the majority of time, these small steps are more counterproductive because they confuse people and promote the wrong message. If the overall message is not on veganism and ending the domestication and property status of non-human animals, we're not progressing, but rather devolving. Sure, it is better for someone to eat meat-free on Mondays than 7 days a week, but this is like saying it is okay to promote racist-free Mondays, rape-free Fridays, or it is fine if one goes vegetarian. Moreover, this is not even vegan Mondays, it is meat-free Mondays. Cows are still tortured and eventually killed for dairy, and hens have a life of imprisonment, while the male chicks are ground up alive for eggs. Therefore, meat-free Mondays actually promotes vegetarianism, which still exploits and kills other sentient beings. I'm getting a bit off topic here, but the whole point is if we are truly honest with ourselves, do we want to continue harming and exploiting others, or instead embrace compassion at every moment of our lives? This is what we need to ponder about if we truly consider ourselves loving, caring, and compassionate humans. Chapter 9. But they're only insects. Honey comes from the stomachs of bees. They regurgitate the food several times and take it back in, a process that eventually forms into what we call honey. However, honey can be considered bee vomit, as it comes from the bees' stomachs. Bees make honey for one reason only. It is their food. It is not ours to steal and consume. Yet again, we see them as property and use what comes from them. However, many people tell me, but they're only insects, for God's sakes. But if bees went extinct, we probably would too, as bees pollinate the majority of our food. Many animals like birds, butterflies, and flies also pollinate flowers and food crops. Other bee products include bee pollen, bee wax, royal jelly, propolis, mead, and bee bread. These products are created or obtained always by theft to the bees. In industrial harvest, thousands of bees are killed in the process. Even in backyard operations, some bees are inevitably killed as well. There is no avoiding that. In their lifetime, the average bee travels to 2 million flowers for 1/12 of a teaspoon, US, or 4.11 milliliters of honey. Imagine, when we consume a bottle of honey, how many bees had to be killed and enslaved to produce that? Honey is something we actually don't need. Even though there may be some health benefits to consuming or using honey or other bee products for nutrition or curing ailments, we do it just because we were taught this as a young child. There are many alternatives that taste just as wonderful or even better than honey. Some such as molasses, maple syrup or sugar, different types of sugar made from sugarcane, brown rice syrup, agave syrup, date sugar or syrup, barley malt syrup, sorghum syrup, stevia, and a product called bee-free honey that uses organic apples, which many people claim taste identical to honey. Just as honey, there are also many types of plants that can be used topically on the skin to treat many ailments with natural remedies such as neem, noni leaf, coconut oil, and aloe vera. Insects are vital to the ecosystem, and without them, the whole web of life would collapse. They're not useless, and they are not just insects either. They are here for a reason. Every creature is here for some purpose. If they are mosquitoes that bite or cockroaches that bother us, they are here for a particular reason. Even if we believe some of them are just pests, they still have a reason to live in the world with us. Once we include more creatures in our sphere of compassion, we will then see flies, mosquitoes, and cockroaches as creatures with lives worth living. We then have love for everyone and don't want to injure any of them. Even the littlest creatures like snails, worms, and ants are our friends, and we have reverence for all of them. As soon as this happens, we start to witness more love pouring into our lives and eventually begin to witness less of these animals, like mosquitoes, as pests wanting to bite us. Even if some do harm us, we still appreciate their unique lives. When we see ourselves in them, we have empathy for the individual, even if they attack us. Just imagine if a bear attacks us. There must be a reason why they would. A bear wouldn't come up and start mauling on us for no apparent reason. We had to have been provoking them, getting close to mother's baby, or in their territory home. Whatever the case, there is always a reason that they would attack us. Sometimes, there may be a reason or reasons why mosquitoes are biting us, but we just don't know what that is. Thus, we consider them pests and try to kill them. While it may be sometimes hard to work outdoors gardening due to them biting us, we have to understand that there is some reason that they are doing this. I know the less sweat and odor people have emitting from their skin, the fewer insects will be attracted to them. This is especially true the longer we have been raw vegan, especially eating fresh fruit as our staple. In time, when we produce less sweat and body odor, flying insects, like mosquitoes, will be less attracted to us. As we return to the idyllic situation, walking along in nature, we come across honey dripping from a tree. We don't see any bees there, as they may be high up in the tree, not visible to us. We see the honey dripping down and we taste a little. It tastes sweet and delicious. Thus we crave more. This is probably the only true raw honey and the most ethical kind we can eat if we are living in nature. If we never tasted or seen this gooey substance before, we may not know where it is coming from or who or what produced it. So we just consume the substance without thinking of the negative ethical consequences of doing so. However, if we knew bees produced it and that it is their food, and we have a moral concept of right and wrong, then we know why it is wrong to steal their food. Also, we cannot make a whole meal just out of honey alone. Thus, it is technically not food for us. We usually only add it as a sweetener to foods like in teas, coffees, or cakes. You can, however, make a meal from just apples, oranges, or papayas alone. We know the only reason we see bees as property and honey as food is because we were conditioned by society and everyone to do so. If our culture did not teach us to consume honey, bee wax, royal jelly, propolis, or bee pollen, we wouldn't be consuming or using these products. The same goes if we were not taught to eat chicken, fish, cows, etc. Then we wouldn't be eating or seeing these animals as property. In many Asian countries, dog and cat meat are popular food, but here in the West, we don't eat dogs or cats. In fact, most of us are appalled at Asians for doing so. But what is the difference between dog or chicken flesh? None. It is just our perception, conditioning, and what we were taught to do growing up. If we were educated to consume dog meat and dog's milk, we would be doing so and wouldn't question it. We would think it was normal, natural, and necessary to do so. But if other people would not consume these animals, we would look at them differently. As we don't eat dogs or cats or their secretions, we believe it is immoral to do so. There is no way for there to be a symbiotic relationship between humans and insects if we want to use or consume their secretions. Just as cows produce milk for their babies only, bees make honey for themselves, their families, or colonies. We don't have the right to steal from anyone. We know it is wrong to steal, yet we continue to do it and make all kinds of excuses so we can continue our bad habits. Chapter 10: The Gentle Garden. We can live another way. There is no excuse not to embrace a kinder way of living. Animal agriculture is the cause of virtually all our human problems. Humans can reside with other beings in harmony in a place I call the Gentle Garden. This is similar to the Garden of Eden, where we also grow our own food. The reasons that we don't forage much in today's modern world is due to land privatization, destruction to the ecosystem, the difficulty in being fully self-sustainable from just foraging alone, and the almost impossibility to do so if one is living in modern urban areas, as there is not many natural forests around. Greenhouses, community gardens, and indoor planting are good ways to start, but if one is serious about being fully sustainable with their food, they may consider living in the tropics and growing their own food. We probably won't be living in the Garden of Eden anytime soon, so we have to create the best situations and world we can through gardens and orchards that cause the least injury to all life forms. However, it is great to envision and strive for Eden in our minds and hearts. There is a better way to grow food that does not use any animal products or have domesticated animals on the land. Animal manure, as well as blood meal, bone meal, fish meal, feather meal, or anything else that comes from animals, are not necessary to add to plants. In nature, there are no domesticated animals, and no part of them is used as fertilizer or pesticides. There are only naturally free, roaming animals, wildlife around, and they poop and urinate everywhere. They also excrete the seeds of plants they have eaten, creating a symbiotic relationship with nature and other animals. We garden in a way where we work with the plants, animals, and the earth in harmony and symbiosis. There are also negative ethical concerns if we introduce domesticated animals into the Gentle Garden. As previously mentioned, one major problem with incorporating animals into gardens, whenever we use them for labor, we expect them to do something for us. We put them into fenced-in areas or cages. They are not free, and we exploit them for our benefit, seeing them as things to be used. Non-human animals are not here for us. They're not grass eaters, pest killers, or manure givers, or whatever. They have a right to live in nature, free from human domination and interference. They are also not here to entertain or clothe us. This is all exploitation. This type of gardening is called veganic. This system can also incorporate permaculture techniques. Other names for vegan permaculture are veganic permaculture, vegan culture, veganiculture, or vegaculture. This means we work symbiotically and harmlessly with the earth and wildlife in a way that benefits everyone. Though there may be some short-term benefits to using animal manure, in the end, animal inputs degrade the soil and ecosystems around the world. Using animals and anything that comes from them exploits their bodies and causes many outbreaks such as E. coli and Salmonella, especially if the manure was obtained from commercial sources. This can lead to food poisoning and even death. However, some people ask me, what is wrong with using manure from local cows who live on the land? As I have said, we see animals and anything that comes from them as something to be used. Again, they are not our property. There are no positive long-term benefits to using local animal manure for growing food. Many people say you can actually grow more food using plant compost and other veganic methods compared to growing with animal manure. There are many people, including myself, who have even used vegan humanure and urine when growing plants with huge success. Because wildlife roam free and we don't see them or their secretions as things to be used, it is all right if they defecate and urinate in our gardens and orchards. It is only when we implement domesticated farm animals or their secretions into our gardens that it becomes a problem. Another aspect of the Gentle Garden is animal ingredients and chemicals in various products, which many vegans still purchase. This harms and kills many animals and destroys the environment. I know many dedicated vegan animal rights activists that still buy some goods that contain chemicals and animal ingredients. Shampoos, skin lotions, toiletry items, and food, even if vegan companies make them, contain harmful ingredients. This not only harms our own bodies, but also the environment and kills many animals. Some people may buy products that are not tested on animals and think this is what it means to be vegan, but this is not enough. Some of the ingredients may be animal derived, so we have to be vigilant whenever we make purchases. For example, some people believe most or all bread is vegan, which they are not. For the most part, bread in supermarkets and in bakeries are usually not vegan at all. They contain milk or other animal ingredients. While people think bread is just water, yeast, and flour, today bread has a dozen or more ingredients in them. Even if some bread are vegan, they contain at least one harmful chemical ingredient in them. Some common animal ingredients in bread are whey, lactylic stearate, L-cysteine, and a whole list of other ingredients and derivatives of their names. As a vegan, it may be hard to live in a world as many convenience foods contain some animal ingredients. In this case, veganism still seems like a fringe diet and lifestyle. However, as time goes on, and as a diligent and committed vegan, one is to learn about all the animal ingredients in foods and to avoid purchasing these items. I also know many vegans who purchase food items just by reading the front label, automatically thinking that the product is vegan. Labels and phrases like veggie cheese, no lactose, and imitation crab may be deceiving to some. These foods are not vegan. Here's how to avoid most or all of these products next time one goes to the supermarket. Vegan packaged foods are usually found in one section of the supermarket or health store. They are typically certified by Vegan Action, the Vegan Society in England, or other vegan certifiers. The best way to avoid eating anything that contains animal-derived ingredients is to purchase most or all of the food from the produce aisle or grow your own fruits and vegetables. In numerous places around the world, there are many fully vegan restaurants, sometimes dozens or even hundreds in large major urban areas. If you live in an area where there are a few dedicated vegan restaurants and businesses, try purchasing from them whenever you can instead of supporting businesses that exploit animals, even if they do have some vegan options. Supporting vegan establishments is a great way to promote veganism and to support caring and loving people. As vegans, we have to strive to minimize harm and cruelty whenever we can and be diligent when buying products, making sure they are vegan. In time, we need to eat healthier whole food options, including a large portion of fresh ripe fruits. I remember a vegan event I went to once where the burger buns were not vegan. I told the organizers and some of the vegan guests as well, and they continued to eat and serve the food to others. This is to show you that even some vegans don't care about animals, let alone the environment or their own health. Of course, many people would say that the buns were just there and that there was no time to buy other ones, so just eat them this one time. Some of you may be thinking that I'm being a bit finicky and extreme here. If the buns had only 1 or 2 animal ingredients in them, what is the problem? Maybe there was no time to buy vegan buns in such short notice. Some people would just eat or use them this one time, so they don't throw good food out. However, I would say otherwise. I would never support or consume any food item that contains animal ingredients unless it was by mistake. First, the organizers should have checked to make sure no food had animal ingredients in them before purchasing all of it. Also, if the product was mistakenly bought, the group needs to have a backup plan and buy other bread or buns instead. A vegan organization should also not be that negligent. They should be stricter in their efforts to make sure nothing comes into their events that are not vegan. I also attended another vegan event, and surprisingly, they had something from their auction that was clearly not vegan. I think it had honey in it. I told the founder and organizer, but immediately they just put it back on the auction table. There have been several occasions where I went to homes of vegans and where many of the products had animal ingredients in them. Even vegan restaurants I went to over the years had toiletry and other items that were not vegan as well. If anyone claims to be vegan, and though yes, they may be sharing veganism with people, they need to be sure that whatever they purchase is vegan, because this is a disservice to the animals and the whole web of life. Moreover, I also know long-term vegans that are very lax about animal ingredients and products. Just as Dr. Will Tuttle talks about the stages of veganism, there are also levels of consciousness or awareness in the gentle garden. Raising our consciousness and cultivating our intuition is by no means saying we are superior to anyone else. all of us can achieve higher levels of consciousness through meditation, prayers, and incorporating all the ideas within this book into our daily lives. In no time, we will be more compassionate, loving, and happy beings living in the gentle garden. Conclusion. Return to the gentle sea. In this chaotic, crazy, and violent world full of suffering, can we really live a happy, peaceful, and loving life? It seems that everywhere we turn, we are bombarded with so many ads for fast food and animal products, our family get-together, and outings to restaurants, and cultural holidays that we think it is impossible for us to live another way. It is also something to notice that most of us still justify eating animal foods. Again, we have to recognize that eating animal foods and seeing animals as property is just a program we are born into. It is nothing we've ever chose to do on our own. I spent countless hours crying, thinking, and meditating about the poor defenseless animals that are enslaved and killed in farms and slaughterhouses. For the first 26 years of my life, I supported animal use and slaughter. No longer did I want to participate in the mass killing, finally awakening to my natural compassion and wisdom. I still think about the pain and suffering that animals endure in the stinking sheds of horror. We must return to our natural way of living. The gentle sea is who we are originally meant to be. It is our biological inner urge to connect to all species and all living units with love. We can't argue that deep in our hearts, we all hunger for this life. But why can't people awaken to the love for all life? Why do we still have to be barbarians in today's modern world? How can we be considered intelligent human beings when we can't even make the vital connections when it comes to other animals and their secretions we consume at each meal? Is it still possible, though, to continue consuming some animal products if the animals are raised organically in small-scaled backyard operations? Can we still eat the eggs, honey, and dairy products from organically raised animals and really be at peace in our lives? As stated throughout this book, as well as my previous ones, it is not. Even if we play happy and soothing music for the animals and put a knife to their throats, or just take their eggs or milk, it is violence and not the right thing to do. No matter how we treat the non-human animals we share this earth with, there are always ethical issues to their use. In addition, their milk, eggs, honey, etc. are not ours to use or consume. It is theirs. What right do we have to steal anything that comes from them? And what right do we have to kill them to devour their bodies? How is this morally acceptable? Who are we, going around saying who shall live and who shall die? What right do we have to do as we please with them? People say it's their personal choice to consume animal foods, but their personal choice is harming non-human animals every time they buy animal foods. When we steal their milk or eggs, the animals have to be forced into cages or tiny fenced-in areas. Even on small dairy farms, the farmers take the baby away from their mother. No matter what people say, this is what happens. We also steal the animals' milk, eggs, or honey. These foods are meant for the animals who produce them, not for us. In order to take their milk or eggs, we have to enslave them. I was told on several occasions, sometimes because cows produce too much milk, the farmer has to take some of it, or the baby is allowed to be with their mother. These are yet other excuses so humans can continue to consume animal foods like dairy. Cattle are a modern member of the subfamily Bovinae. In nature, they would produce just enough milk to feed to their baby, just like humans produce enough milk for their baby. Even if the mother produces more milk than necessary, nature knows how to regulate that. If a human mother produces excess milk, her breasts don't explode, just like cows' udders don't explode if they produce too much. Whoever promotes this idea is either lying or just repeating what others told them. The only reason many of us are addicted to dairy products, especially cheese, is that they contain a natural substance called casomorphine. Just as the name implies, casomorphine acts on opioid receptors to produce morphine-like effects. It is derived from the digestion of the milk protein casein. It is a natural substance that entices the calf to return to suckle on their mother. It is designed to add massive weight to them in a short period. Our personal choices to consume animal products inflicts immense suffering on other animals. Even if animal products were procured without harm to the animals, humans still see other beings as property. There is no good justification for continuing to consume any animal product, no matter where the animals come from or how the dairy, eggs, or honey were derived. There is never an excuse to consume anything that comes from them except for sustenance. For the majority of people reading this book, we can afford to purchase and or grow our own plant food, so there is no excuse why not to. Health-wise, animal foods are a disaster for well-being. Cholesterol, animal protein, and animal fat are in no way good for us. They do not cure cancer, diabetes, or heart disease. They actually help promote disease. Humans see other animals as property and food, only because we were taught to do so from a young age. Our culture teaches us this. Why don't we change our beliefs and actions and stop all this madness? Everywhere in society and throughout the world, there is violence and suffering. Let's begin to change that around and start to love, share, and work in harmony with all life. If we want to live in a gentle garden, then we must emulate that way of living. Stop whining, crying, and complaining that vegans are hurting your feelings. Stop with all the silly rationalizations. But I love the taste. Eat animal products in moderation. Or, I need it for my health. Nonsense. Virtually everyone reading this book can and must be vegan if we want to live peacefully with one another. As you have just read throughout this book, there are no excuses or arguments in today's modern world not to embrace a compassionate life. We cannot have peace while we steal from, stab animals, and devour their bodies. Labels and phrases such as organic, free range, free roaming, cage-free, natural, no hormones, no antibiotics, certified, halal, or kosher are just excuses to make us feel good as we continue to view other beings as lesser than us. We are all equal in the respect that we all have the right to live full lives without being used against our will. Being vegan for more than a decade, I have heard all of the excuses and justifications, and none of them have any validity. No amount of cruelty or animal use is acceptable. But some people shout, there is also some suffering involved when we eat plants, which I've already previously addressed. However, pertaining to this matter, maybe it is all right to consume fruits, as they cause the least overall harm. Consuming fruits, we eventually excrete their seeds out into nature, or maybe we plant their seeds later. Some of the seeds will eventually grow into plants that contain edible fruits. This cycle does not kill the plant, but rather allows the plant to continue reproducing, feeding many animals. However, in our modern imperfect world, we can only do our best. Thus, we feel into our hearts yearning for love to find the solutions. It is also ridiculous that I have to explain to supposedly intelligent human beings why it is wrong to steal from and otherwise kill other innocent beings, and why animal products are morally unacceptable, environmentally unsustainable, a human health hazard, and spiritually and mentally deadening to our minds, hearts, and souls. This is even true for hunting and backyard animal operations, as previously explained. People can squirm and turn whichever way they want, but the reality is, no amount of animal products or animal ingredients are acceptable to be used or consumed. As previously discussed, There is no such thing as ahimsa, non-injury, or cruelty-free animal products. All animals suffer and die tremendous deaths. We must be kidding or lying to ourselves if we think otherwise. In the end, if people still want to continue to support and consume death, torture, and suffering, and no truth or evidence will ever convince them to stop harming others, then so be it. If we feel that theft, killing, and using others against their will are okay, then it is just because we are still very hardwired by our culture to believe otherwise. Individually, we must understand that our actions are still not morally justified. No matter how malicious our actions might be, we all contain love and compassion within us that we need to awaken to and embrace in our daily lives. However, for some of us, the love is deeply hidden and suppressed. I don't think any of us wake up in the morning and ask ourselves, who am I going to slay and kill today? We just unconsciously follow everyone else, believing it is normal, natural, and necessary way to live. Once we start to seriously evaluate our actions and how much suffering and death animal foods cause on a wide scale, we will then want to align our lives with compassion instead. I don't think any of us, deep in our hearts, are inherently evil and violent. It is just the system and our culture that hardens our hearts and deadens our souls. We can live another way, one that sees all beings, including the earth, with empathy and compassion. We no longer need to kill in our modern world to live and thrive. Many people are becoming vegan and embracing a kinder way of living, which does not view animals as property. As told by many, veganism is now the fastest growing social justice movement in the world. Every day, thousands, if not tens of thousands of people are making the switch. It is so simple to live with love, something I think you'll indeed be glad you made. Quote, "If we believe absurdities, we will commit atrocities, and we pass it on to our children, generation upon generation. Our violent actions speak so much more loudly than our peaceful words, and this is the unyielding dilemma of the herding culture we call home. The only way to solve this dilemma is to evolve cognitively and ethically to a higher level where our actions do not belie our words and force us into unconsciousness and denial, but rather align with and reinforce our words and the universal spiritual teachings that instruct us to love one another and to have mercy on the weak and vulnerable rather than exploiting and dominating them." Dr. Will Tuttle, author of The World Peace Diet. Thank you for reading the book and supporting my life-saving mission. Visit my website to order more books for your friends and family. I would appreciate feedback and an Amazon review. Love and light. www.weareinterconnected.com. Audiobook is copyrighted 2019 by Michael Landfield. This audiobook was recorded and edited in Cobourg, Toronto, and Brampton, Ontario, Canada. Published by We Are Interconnected. This audiobook or any portion thereof may be reproduced without prior permission from the publisher for personal or educational non-profit purposes only. All profit made from the sale of the book goes back to producing more educational materials and resources.